The Caribbean Indentured Servants. Indian Arrival Day is celebrated as a holiday or just solemnly observed in many countries of the Caribbean. It is part of what makes us uniquely Caribbean. But how or why did we begin this practice? Let's take a closer look, shall we? Hi there and welcome once again to the Aaron Darcy Project. Here we travel back in time to look at the people and events that have contributed to the colorful history of our Caribbean region. I am Ryan, your host for today. Following the abolition of slavery in 1834, the Colonial West Indies administration encountered a major labor shortage as many freed slaves began to leave the sugar plantations. To resolve this issue, plantation owners were forced to employ indentured laborers, mainly from India, but also from China and other regions. History tells us that between 1838 and 1917, almost 500,000 Indian indentured servants arrived in the West Indian colonies. These indentured servants were brought to work on the sugar plantations, replacing the labor force lost after the abolition of slavery. They typically signed 5-year contracts in exchange for wages, housing, and medical care. In addition to Indian laborers, Chinese workers were also brought to the Caribbean under similar indenture agreements, significantly contributing to the labor force, especially in British Guiana, now Guyana, and Trinidad. These indentured laborers were vital in sustaining and enhancing agricultural production in the West Indies. They primarily worked on sugar plantations, but also contributed to the cultivation of cocoa, coffee, and other crops. Their efforts were vital to the survival of the plantation economy during a crucial transition period. The presence of these indentured laborers facilitated economic diversification in the West Indies. While sugar remained the dominant crop, the development and importance of other agricultural products grew, greatly contributing to economic stability within the colonies. These new arrivals brought profound cultural changes, as Indian and Chinese communities settled in the region, enhancing its cultural diversity. They introduced new foods, traditions, and religious practices, enriching what would become the Caribbean's cultural tapestry. As they arrived, there was a need to accommodate and manage the large influx of indentured laborers. This spurred infrastructure development, including improvements in housing, transportation, and medical facilities. These advancements made to accommodate the immigrants had lasting benefits for the overall economies of the different colonies and subsequently, for what would become the newly created and independent nations of the Caribbean. The immigrants endured harsh working conditions and faced exploitation and abuse. Despite these hardships, their contributions left a lasting legacy in the Caribbean, shaping its economic and cultural landscape. The majority of Indian indentured laborers who came to the Caribbean were from several regions in India. Most of them were from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The agricultural and laboring classes of these northern states were heavily recruited due to their large populations and socio-economic conditions at the time. A smaller number of laborers were also recruited from Bengal, located in eastern India. Various regions in the south, including Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, also contributed to the indentured labor force. These Indians, primarily from rural backgrounds, were often recruited with promises of better economic opportunities abroad. Their contributions have significantly impacted the agricultural and economic development of the Caribbean. From them, Caribbean people have inherited a variety of spices and cooking techniques, leading to unique dishes. Popular foods such as roti, curry, and dal are direct contributions from Indian cuisine. Hinduism and Islam were introduced to the Caribbean by Indians. Temples and mosques were built, and religious festivals like Diwali and Eid became part of our cultural fabric. The linguistic diversity of the Caribbean has been enhanced with words from Hindi, Pojari, and other Indian languages. Many of these have been incorporated into local dialects. Indian festivals such as Diwali and Phagwa are celebrated with great enthusiasm in many Caribbean countries, becoming integral to the cultural calendar. Traditional Indian clothing, jewelry, and art forms have influenced Caribbean fashion and artistic expressions. Garments like saris and kurtas are still popular in modern times, and Indian motifs appeared in local art. They also brought traditional Indian music and dance forms, which, over time, have blended with other styles to create new genres. Chutney music, for example, is a fusion of Indian and Caribbean rhythms. This genre emerged in Trinidad and Tobago, blending traditional Indian folk music with Caribbean rhythms. It incorporates instruments like the dholak and harmonium, and often features lyrics in Hindi or Pojari. Chutney music is popular at weddings and cultural celebrations and has evolved to include elements of soca and calypso. Soca music originated in Trinidad and Tobago and is a fusion of calypso with Indian musical elements. The incorporation of Indian rhythms and instruments, such as the tassa drums, has given soca its distinctive sound. This genre is especially prominent during carnival celebrations. These influences have enriched the Caribbean's musical landscape, creating a diverse and dynamic cultural tapestry that continues to evolve. And so Indian Arrival Day is celebrated in Guyana and several other Caribbean countries to honor the contributions of these Indian immigrants. It is a holiday celebrated on different dates in the Caribbean, but also in Fiji, South Africa, and Mauritius. In Guyana and in Trinidad and Tobago, where the tradition began, it is recognized as an official public holiday. Let's take a look at how this day is observed in other Caribbean countries. The 100th anniversary of the first arrival of Indians in Grenada was commemorated in 1957, marking the first such celebration in that country. More than 5 decades later, in 2009, the government of Grenada declared May 1st as Indian Arrival Day, to be observed annually alongside Labor Day. This date was already a public holiday due to Labor Day. Additionally, Boucherie Road, leading to the site where the ship, Maidstone, arrived, was renamed Maidstone Road to honor the arrival of Indians in Grenada aboard that vessel. In Guyana, the holiday is celebrated in May, to commemorate the first arrival of indentured laborers from India on May 5, 1838. Today, their descendants make up 44% of Guyana's population of over 750,000. In 1995, the government of Jamaica proclaimed May 10 as Indian Heritage Day, recognizing the contributions of Indians to the country's social and economic development. The arrival of Indians over 170 years ago is also commemorated with stamps. The Indian Diaspora of St. Lucia, an association promoting Indo-St. Lucian heritage, organized the first Indian Arrival Day celebrations on May 6, 2013. The association is campaigning for the St. Lucian government to officially declare May 6 as Indian Arrival Day. On March 26, 2007, the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines officially declared June 1 as Indian Arrival Day. In Suriname, Indian Arrival Day, Prawas Din, is celebrated on June 5. On this day in 1873, the ship Lalla Rookh arrived in Paramaribo, carrying the first batch of 399 Indian indentured laborers. In Trinidad and Tobago, Indian Arrival Day is celebrated on May 30th. This commemorates the arrival of the first indentured laborers from India in May 1845 on the ship Fatel Razak, which carried 275 Indians after a 5-month journey. Trinidad and Tobago was the first country to establish this day as a holiday. Today in the 21st century, the people of the Caribbean boast a richly cultural heritage built from the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. These ancestors who came from many places across the world, including India, Africa, and China, gave us the strength, courage, and inspiration that have made us into the proud and happy people that we are. West Indians. I look forward to sharing another episode of the Aaron Darcy Project with you. We'll continue to look at those who have contributed to the beautiful tapestry that is the Caribbean. Goodbye for now.